done is grab the meat, put it with avocado oil because I want to use an oil that can use a high heat, and avocado is a good one. If I wasn't having to mix it, I might use a coconut or butter because those all use high heats. But avocado for this type of cooking is the best. And I put the meat in a bowl and I mixed it with fajita seasoning. And on the recipe that you'll get at the end of class, it's the seasoning that I use. I just mix it together and keep it in a container. And it's paprika, cumin, things like that. Or you can just buy a pre-made fajita seasoning. But if you buy it pre-made, make sure it doesn't have any MSG or ingredients that your great-great-great-grandmother wouldn't be able to recognize. It's all just seasoning, okay? And that keeps it compliant for the Mediterranean goals that we're working on. So I just put it in a bowl, put the avocado oil, I just drizzle it so it's a little more moist and the seasoning will stick, and then I mix a lot of the fajita seasoning, get it all over, and then I just quickly put it on the pan. And then you can either buy the pre-cut peppers and onions, which makes it a whole lot faster, or I cut them today, put it in the same bowl, mixed more of the seasoning in it, put it on the sheet pan. I'm going to bake it for 15 minutes. And there is dinner and lunch for the next day. Huh?
Chicken's going to be done in 15 minutes?
It's cut very, very, very thin. But I will double check it for you. And then you'll have the recipe right here. When you try it, I have both gluten-free, because I know there's several gluten-free. So the gluten-free tortillas and then the regular flour tortillas for it. And one big way I like to do it, fajitas one day and then the salad the next day. So when we try it, I've got cheese, cilantro, and guacamole to do with your fajitas. So we're going to try and get a system where you can try it and have it in a way you'll like it. That might take a little bit of finagling. And then also, the minute I take this out of the oven, I squeeze a lot of lime onto it. And the lime is the very important part. That adds a lot of taste to it. I have not put but a little bit of salt. A lot of people like more salt than what I'm doing with the recipes here. So keep that in mind when you're sampling it. A lot of seasoning, but not very much salt. So, oh, no problem. I'm glad you're here. So that's the fajita sheet pan. I'm going to run and put it in the oven real quick. It's been preheating.
Everybody's got on those chicken breasts.
You want the chicken?
Was there filming? They needed some chips. Yeah, that was a good time for yours. So Laura cooks. Sarah cooking.
Sarah.
Should I give it away? Let's take a chance.
There.
Jennifer, would there be enough seasoning that if you put it on rice, it would be,
What I do, here, let me get you.
instead of tortillas?
You get a lot of starch in your rice.
Well, depends on how much you eat of it.
And generally at home, I do mine with a corn tortilla, but I didn't know if that would be popular. I haven't made it with the flour.
better.
Yeah, I love corn, but I didn't bring the corn today. But see, I make it in a container like this, and then I just keep it in my cupboard. And so if you're going to do that, you can make double it, triple it. And that way,
That's the seasoning.
that's the seasoning. And I make a lot more than that one time I make it. Because I try to kind of keep those favorite staples going through my kitchen over and over again. So I make it in bulk so that every time I make something, I do it a little bit faster.
Those jaws are really handy.
Oh, I love
They
them.
come in all sizes.
I also will put a single thing of chicken broth when I make it, and I'll stick that in the freezer, and that way I can do 1 cup worth of chicken broth whenever I need it out of the freezer in this homemade.
Okay, so does anyone here have an Instapot?
Yep.
Couple people. Do y'all know what an Instapot is? So has anyone used a pressure cooker? Very similar to a pressure cooker. There's a lot more settings on the Instapots nowadays. In the handout you'll get, there's 2 different sizes that you can buy at Walmart with pricing in there as well. Here in a little bit we'll show you a more in-depth tutorial on how to use it. But this is the pot that goes inside of it, so I'm going to show you how you layer this dish and then how easy it cooks. So mine is a healthy take on a white bean chili. So it doesn't have a lot of added sodium to it, but what you're going to start with is on this plate, I just have a little bit of minced garlic, so that's going to go right in the bottom of my pot. Oh, might need a fork to get that off, so you're doing it.
And you're gonna give us the recipe.
Yes, the recipe's going to be in the handout as well. So we have a little bit of that minced garlic in the bottom, and then right here, I do have some diced onions. Those are going to go right in the bottom as well. And then next is going to be, really can't have chili without a corn, so I left the corn in there. I know some people like corn, some people don't, but I am a huge fan of corn in my chilies. So we'll go ahead and add that 1 can, and there's no, I rinsed it, but another thing too, this is no salt added. So you can actually buy them at Walmart. This is just the Great Value organic kind. And here you can see no salt added whole kernel corn. I recommend that because then you don't have to be paranoid about trying to wash it. Did you get all the extra sodium off? They already did that step for you. They didn't add it to the can. And then here, the type of beans I'm using today are Great Northern beans. So they're a white bean. And what's great about beans, especially if you're vegetarian, they're high in protein, high in fiber, and also high in your B vitamins. So what the recipe directs to do is this is 1 can of the beans, and I did this with a plastic spoon, so it's very easy to do. You rinse the beans, you drain them, and then you mash up one. This is going to make the soup a little bit thicker because we're not going to use heavy creams to make the soup to keep it on the healthier side. So I'm going to go ahead and put just the 1 can of the mashed beans in here. You'll use 2 cans total, so then the other can, nice and easy. After you rinse them, I left them in here. You'll pour those directly into the pot. And for here, you don't have to mix anything. I just kind of smooth it out as I go, so it's a nice smooth layer. And then from here, what we're going to do is it's just 3 whole chicken breasts. So what's crazy is a lot of people think, oh, this isn't going to cook, because all it takes is about 10-minute warm-up period. That's how most instant pots are to reach their pressure. But then it's only a 10-minute cook time, and these chickens, perfect, no pink in the middle, and you can shred them very easily with 2 forks. You take it, shred it up, and I'll show that here in a bit. But all I'm going to do is pick them up one by one, set them in a straight line in here. Set those in there. And then I also have some just diced green chilies. You can get them in little cans like this at Walmart. It's just 4 ounces. I'll sprinkle those on top right before I cook it. Those I don't drain. I like having the extra juices in those. You can drain them, but it's not going to make that big of a difference with such a little container. And then in here, it's hard to see, but this is going to be my mixture of spices. So I have a little bit of pepper, cumin, chili powder, paprika, and a little bit of oregano, actually. It sounds like usually that goes in more of Italian dishes, but it mixes well in here. And so this is also, again, no salt added, very low sodium. All you do is sprinkle that right on top of your chicken. And then from there, I'm using, you can use chicken broth if you prefer, but we've talked about bone broth in the past. It's going to be a lot higher in collagen, a lot higher in your vitamins and minerals as well. This is one that I got from Walmart. It's organic chicken bone broth. Very easy to pick up. Similar to the Epic one we had in the jar the other week. This one's a little bit cheaper because it's not in the plastic jar and it's not beef and flavored. And so this one too, being low sodium, for 1 cup it has 390 milligrams of sodium. But what I'm going to do is, that's what's in these cups right here. You just pour it over right into your pot. And this is 3 cups worth, so I do still have some left in the container.
Bone broth.
Bone broth.
And you're using 3 cups.
Yes, 3 cups, and you'll get the recipe at the end. So I do still have some left if you want to use it for a different soup. You can just throw some vegetables in it, a little bit of seasoning. But so that's everything in my pot, and that is done and good to go. I'll set it in the Instant Pot, let it heat up for about 10 minutes, and then it will automatically start cooking on its own. So 10 minutes, I'll take it out, shred the chicken, I'll show you all that. And then the only other thing that I need to add is my 2% Greek yogurt. So this is gonna take place of any creams that are in there. It makes it a little bit thicker as well. And what I can do for those of you that can't have dairy or this will mess with your stomach, before I add this, I'm only adding half a cup to the entire pot, but I can always give you a little bit beforehand because it still tastes great. This is just to make it a little bit creamier. So we'll add that here.
What blend yogurt?
This is the Fage, it's the 2%. They have 0%, 1%. There's not much fat in this recipe, that's why I chose the 2%, make it a little bit creamier. Because even for this, for 1 cup, it's only 3.5 grams of fat. So great thing to use in here. It adds extra protein to the meal as well. And then to top it off, if y'all would like, I do have some fresh cilantro. I love cilantro, it goes great in this soup. So I won't add it to the whole thing, but that is an option for later when y'all try it. But I will show you guys how easy this is to cook. I'll bring this around just so you can see. I just layered them all in there. No stirring required. This is an 8-quart one.
Have these new things ever blown up on anybody like the old timey ones did?
Not that I have heard of.
But you know, most of the regular ones had them blow up on them and burn them.
And I think they have a lot of new settings because when you buy an Instant Pot, they take it through a specific test where you test it with just water to make sure it's pressurizing correctly. So as long as that's fine, that's what the manufacturer says, you're good to go from there. But I will set this in the Instant Pot, and then I'll show you guys how I'm going to shred the chicken really easily, and then we'll add in the yogurt here in a little bit. But I'm going to have Jennifer, she's going to share one more Instant Pot recipe. And another thing, we're not going to show it today, but in the handout, I also show you how to do Instant Pot hard-boiled eggs. So super easy. When you buy an Instant Pot, it comes with a little trivet you just set in the bottom, lay your eggs on top, put a little bit of water with it. And that's one of the #1 reasons why I bought my Instant Pot, because I hated peeling my eggs. And so when you cook them in an Instant Pot, you take them out, super easy to peel. You don't have the mess of that, trying to get the tiny little pieces of shells off. So that's why I bought mine. So I included that recipe in there, and it tells you how long to cook it for based on how you like your hard-boiled eggs, so whether you like them soft or hard. So that will be included. So I'm going to run this over there, put it in the Instant Pot, get it to start cooking, and then I'll help Jennifer bring her ingredients over.
It's the INSTA pot.
No, I brought
Getting
my
ready to look at what she did. She set
crock
it down
pots,
in-
because I was envisioning these winter days when we'd stay home, I have a pantry full of food, a refrigerator full, and a freezer full. And have I done very much? No. Because I really enjoy making stuff.
This is for the fajitas in a little bit.
Sarah, since you don't mix, does it matter how you layer?
Yes, so she asked, since I don't mix everything together in the Instant Pot, does it matter? For some recipes it does. A lot of times it's better to put your vegetables on the bottom because that's where it's going to heat up more and they get a lot softer than if you were to lay them on top. But in most recipes that you find, it will tell you what specific order to put them in. And some will say to stir them, but most of them you just put them in that layer, keep it, don't touch it, and it will cook the way it's supposed to. That's why I put the seasoning right on top of the chicken so it seasons the chicken well, and then pour that broth on top.
Okay. That was a good demonstration. I love that.
Terry Shucks was exercise classes when Jennifer was telling me it's what they were going to do. I think Judy would like to see it. He said, yes. And then she wanted to go read to the store and get one because she loves gadgets. And he said, we don't need anything else. But this is the latest thing. And I do remember using the pressure cooker, but I remember horror stories of them blowing up too. That was like the latest thing in what, the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whenever, and then the crock pots came out. I know my mom used it through the 50s. I don't know if she was the 60s.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite finds on the Instapot. This gets dinner on the table in 10 minutes after you do everything. And it's going to be salmon, potatoes, and spinach and garlic. And I just love it because it gets the salmon perfectly poached. And it's just such a quick and easy recipe. But I forgot to grab one thing and bring it over, so I'll be right back.
You could buy one Instapot for village homes, one for cottages. I was so excited to make something for dinner.
So this is really doing one batch cooking that doesn't seem like it. So we're going to end up with potatoes and spinach mix with garlic, with the salmon cooking on top of that. It's super easy to do. On the bottom I have butter, and then you just take and you do a layer of potatoes in the bottom of the pressure cooker.
You did wash your hands.
I have washed my hands over and over and over again. There is no soaps I've been aware because I keep running to the restroom to wash my hands. Okay, so I'm going to go very light on the salt and more on the pepper, just a little bit. But keep that in mind when you try it. I'm just trying to make it appealing to everybody. So then just a little bit of salt and pepper. I've got butter that you didn't see me put on the bottom part.
Salted or unsalted?
Lightly salted. I just did 1 tube and that was it.
The butter.
Unsalted. Unsalted butter.
Oh, smells good.
Okay, so this is chicken broth. 1 cup. I have the potatoes in here. I just cut them in half. It was the red potatoes. And then 1 cup of chicken broth. Pour it all the way around. That's going to be the moisture for the poaching of the salmon. And then you put this comes with the Instapot. It's also when you boil the egg, when you make eggs in here, you can stick your eggs in here and it keeps them from cracking. Anyway, you're just going to set this on top and then put your salmon on top of that.
Where's the spinach?
The spinach is going to come in after you cook it. I'm just going to throw several handfuls, and the heat that's already there will help with the spinach. I haven't balanced this much salmon on here before, so this may take a little trick.
What do you call that thing that it rests on? Trivet, okay.
Thank you. I was trying to remember the name. Well, I may not be able to get all the salmon on here like I hoped. We may have to do 2 rounds.
We're just squeezing together, that won't hurt.
Or put one on top of the other.
Yeah, they have it.
I haven't practiced it that way.
Squeezing together.
The pressure.
The pressure.
Okay. So then I'm just going to squeeze a lemon because it's all really fresh ingredients. And then add salt and pepper. And then you put it in the Instapot for 3 minutes and it's done. It takes about 5 minutes for that pressure to develop. So this is my favorite thing, and this is why I like it. It doesn't have to be salmon, it doesn't have to be potatoes, and it doesn't have to be spinach. I have a little formula I do. I put vegetables on the bottom, sometimes zucchini, squash, onion, and then I put my fish on top. And it can be mahi, grouper, any type of fish you want. But I knew so many people want to get more salmon in, and we've been talking about omega-3s and things like that. And so I decided we were doing salmon today. So it doesn't matter how or what you choose to do. You can mix it and get creative, and it's always 3 minutes. So I'll do zucchini and squash and onion cut on the bottom with mahi mahi and a lot of salt and pepper. The only constant is I always use the chicken broth with the vegetables, and I always use the lemon with the fish. And besides that, the sky's the limit, and it's such a great way to get your fish and a vegetable on the plate. So then the next thing that I do is I always cook a little bit extra fish, and the next day, that is my salad meat. And so when I go buy this, I'll go buy one of those salads in a bag, and then I'll throw my fish on top of that. So in my 5 minutes, I've created 2 meals. Just have to use the salad greens the next day with the leftover fish. And so usually my son and I both eat dinner with the fish, and then I have more fish for the salad the next day. So it's really economical based on if you look at the economy of time. Any questions about this?
Smells good.
Yeah, it makes me happy.
Where'd you get the salmon from?
I got it. Okay, so I always get wild caught. I don't like the farm raised, so I got it at Walmart. And a lot of times, but I normally buy my salmon at Ozark Natural Foods, and I spend a little bit less. The Walmart's was more expensive, which kind of surprised me. So you kind of want to look at it, but go for the wild caught, not the farm raised. And then I don't like it to have the red dye. So I always turn it back and make sure there's no red dye on my salmon. You don't need it, it's not good for you. And so, any questions so far?
How do you know it has red dye?
It'll say it in the bottom. It'll say with dye.
We'll have to ask our chefs, huh?
Yeah. And I also the rainbow trout sometimes is dyed, because that's another fish that I do a lot. I like rainbow trout is unique in the sense that it's a healthy farmed fish. So when I'm getting a farmed fish or a less expensive fish, I'll usually do the rainbow trout. But sometimes it will have the dye in it as well. Any questions? Well, now we're about to be on to the tasting part. I have a feeling that we're going to have little gaps in the time as we're trying to get the food out to test and get it cooked. So I have brought kimchi for the people who were at the talk on Friday and different things like that just to kind of keep us entertained. And Sarah has the fajitas coming out. I'm just going to add the salt and pepper and get this going.
Remember kimchi from Vietnam, and I think it's all wrapped up in being in the water.
I did not add much salt.
50 feet on kimchi. Skip lunch. The action station this week is fajitas. So we'll see how it goes. Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have food coming in this week.